Hello and good afternoon. My name is Ellen Benzine. I'm an account manager with Swipe Clock. I will be conducting the Ask Me Anything hour this afternoon. I welcome all of you. With me this afternoon are Brandon Peterson and Carol Kennedy. They too are account managers with Swipe Clock. And we also have Lauren with our marketing group on the call. It is a few minutes after the hour. I think everybody who's going to attend this afternoon has pretty much signed in. So out of respect for everybody's time, let's go ahead and get started. The ApplicantStack feature that we are going to be discussing today is launching your jobs to Indeed. And I know that we have talked about this frequently in regard to launching jobs to Indeed, Indeed's organic free feed, how to sponsor your jobs on Indeed, but I think it's a topic well worth discussing again. So we're going to go ahead and move forward, get started. What I will do, or what we will do after the discussion on Indeed, is open it up to any questions that you have on ApplicantStack in general. You can go ahead and key in your questions through the question panel during the presentation. We'll give you time to key in questions afterwards as well. We're going to just go ahead and get started. And let's see, here we go. The first thing I would like to discuss prior to actually launching your job to Indeed are some considerations prior to posting. There are best practices that span the industry, and then Indeed has some suggestions as well for successful posting to their third-party job board. So let's go ahead and talk about Indeed's best practices, what they suggest so that your jobs will have as much visibility as possible on their site. So in regard to the job title, they don't want any special symbols in the job title, anything that you see there, such as $, exclamation point, asterisk, question marks, those sort of symbols, and certainly don't use all uppercase in your job titles, and no clickbait. So clickbait, or examples of clickbait, could be bonus, or again, $, anything like that. Indeed doesn't suggest. And as always, Indeed has the final say as to whether or not they're going to launch your jobs on their site. So again, just things to consider prior to launching your jobs from ApplicantStack to Indeed. The other thing that's not mentioned here on the slide, but I do want to just discuss it for a minute, is Indeed does not like multiple requirements listed in one job title. So every once in a while, I'll see a job title that will say, for example, CNAs, RNAs, LPNs, all needed. Well, those are 3 different requirements typically: CNA, RNA, or RN, I guess I should say, and LPN. Again, Indeed does not promote multiple requirements in one job, so I would highly suggest, if you do that, to separate those jobs and make, in this case, 3 separate jobs out of them. Moving on to best practices, and this is more of an industry-wide thing. In your job description, include what makes you different than your competitors. And again, I know we've talked about this today, but I think it's a point to continue to dwell on. So what is the growth opportunity for the job? That could be very important to an entry-level opportunity, especially. What company culture, what company values do you have? You can include those in your job description, and again, that would set you aside from your competitors from a candidate's viewpoint. You could also include what the evaluation process is in regard to evaluating candidates who are applying for the job. What's kind of a turnoff in a job description is just blocks of text. So I would include formatting that might be bullets as opposed to text, and then include some of these things that we've just mentioned: growth opportunity, company culture, and the candidate evaluation process. In regard to refreshing and reposting jobs, We all want our jobs at the top of the queue of all of those third-party job boards. But again, we don't suggest refreshing or reposting your jobs more frequently than every 90 days. Again, if you do that, Indeed has the final say as to whether or not they will post your jobs on their job board. So just things to consider. The next item to consider in regard to launching your jobs to Indeed would be salary information. And this is something that Indeed, I want to say, posted or advertised earlier this year, but they are absolutely implementing it now. You might see when you launch your jobs to Indeed estimated salaries, and Indeed will include what they think the estimated salary range is for your job, based on requirements, based on geographic area. And if you don't want Indeed to include salary estimates, you've got to include your posted salary or your salary range within ApplicantStack. That information will go out on our Indeed feed, and then your salary range will then post with your job. So the rationale behind what we call pay transparency is actually to promote pay equity. So again, something to consider. Brandon went through how to post that salary information in ApplicantStack a couple of weeks ago at the Ask Me Anything hour. We can certainly review that information, but again, if you want your salaries posted with your job on Indeed, then you need to make some settings in your ApplicantStack account. And then the final thing you see on this slide is Indeed Apply. So let's discuss Indeed Apply a little bit. And that function allows candidates to apply very quickly for your jobs. The goal here is that candidates aren't completing a lengthy employment application, and sometimes that increases candidate abandonment. Indeed Apply is, again, a quick application process, and you want to make your application process streamlined. So if you do have Indeed Apply turned on in your ApplicantStack account, you don't want a lengthy employment application as part of your initial application process. Indeed Apply just doesn't sync with a lengthy employment application because in reality, those candidates never leave Indeed's site. So they're completing your quick application process while still on Indeed's site. And because that process takes place on Indeed's site, Indeed has requirements for to use that function. So if you do add 3 or 4 qualifying questions as part of your initial application process, then Indeed, in order to protect the job seeker's privacy and security, Indeed prevents employers from asking personal information such as driver's license number, social security number, and bank account information. So please understand that if you do ask any of that personal information while you have Indeed Apply turned on, again, Indeed has the ability to block your jobs from posting. All right, the next thing that I'd like to talk about is posting jobs on Indeed, which can be either sponsored or organic. When you launch jobs from ApplicantStack, you have the option to launch your jobs to a variety of third-party job boards, obviously Indeed being one of them. And if you launch your jobs to Indeed's organic free feed, then there's not a fee associated with that. But as time goes on, your job will go farther and farther down into the Indeed queue. Do know, however, that if you're looking for a project manager in Raleigh, North Carolina, and candidates insert those key words, then your job will come up, project manager in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, it's not going to be on the top of the queue, but again, searching capabilities will always bring your jobs up. So that gives you the ability to post to Indeed's organic free feed. Just as a caveat, however, or Indeed does require that staffing and recruiting companies pay to post. So if you are a staffing and recruiting company and you try to post to Indeed's organic free feed, again, Indeed might block your jobs. So then, not only can you post to Indeed's organic free feed from ApplicantStack, but you can also sponsor your jobs on Indeed from ApplicantStack. So it makes it very convenient and very efficient. And sponsoring jobs means that you're paying to post. And when you pay to post your jobs on Indeed, it brings your jobs up to the top of the search list or the queue and provides more visibility than the organic free feed. So you are paying to post, but again, the bang for your buck is very evident if you do pay to post because again of that visibility. So, you might question, when should I sponsor a job or why should I sponsor a job? And when I was recruiting, I would sponsor jobs on Indeed for, a couple of different situations. So if it was a time critical opportunity, a job that I needed to fill very quickly, I would consider sponsoring it on Indeed. Or if it was a hard to fill opportunity, I would do the same thing. So again, you are paying to post that job, but the visibility is higher on Indeed. All right, this is just a screenshot of the process to sponsor your jobs on Indeed. So it's a two-step process within ApplicantStack, and I can show you this in a bit if you'd like. This is a screenshot. In ApplicantStack, you would create your job, open your job, and then launch it. The first thing you need to do is to launch your job to Indeed's organic free feed. And you can see that under third-party job boards down below, that this particular job has been posted to Indeed's organic free feed. You can see the status is posted. So once you launch your job to the free feed, you do need to wait up to 8 hours in order to sponsor it. And the reason being is that Indeed's quality assurance team is checking to make sure that your organization is valid and that the job is valid as well. So once that quality assurance check has been completed, you then have the ability to launch your job, sponsor your job on Indeed. So within the red box, you see Indeed sponsorship opportunity, and you can see that the sponsor job link, it's in blue, is now a live link. And in order to sponsor your job, you as an ApplicantStack user would click on sponsor job. And then you'll get another screenshot that will ask you predictive questions, and you can figure out how many resumes or applicants you might receive based on your monthly budget. So in this particular case, if you navigate once again to the box outlined in red, for this particular job and a budget of $250, you're likely to receive 4 applicants in 30 days. So you do get some campaign analytics and some predictive analysis from within ApplicantStack when you launch jobs and sponsor them on Indeed. When you do sponsor, you do connect to Indeed, and you do need to have an account with Indeed and or create an account with Indeed, and that account has to have a valid credit card number because it is Indeed who you are paying for sponsorship. The final thing just to discuss here, and you will get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation after the webinar is over, is just some resources. I've talked about job titles and job descriptions and pay transparency, but it's always nice to be able to refer to an article. So you'll see some resources here that I've included in the PowerPoint presentation about what we've discussed: best practices, pay transparency, and Indeed Apply. That is the feature that's been highlighted today. We can certainly answer any questions you have on launching your jobs to Indeed and anything we've discussed, but we're also very happy to answer any questions that you have on anything ApplicantStack.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. Would you have a few coming in?
Okay. All right. Excellent. And Carol, as they're coming in, I do want to mention a couple upcoming webinars.
Oh, sorry.
An ApplicantStack onboarding webinar will be conducted on October 19th. You can register for that webinar via the announcement section from your ApplicantStack homepage. And then we are also conducting in tandem with Verified First. Verified First is our preferred partner for background checks and drug screening. And that webinar will be on September 14th. And account administrators will be getting registration emails about that. Lauren will also be putting both of those links for registration in the chat box. So you can actually copy those links and register for both Verified First on September 14th and onboarding on, did I say October 1st? October before? Onboarding is September 19th. So again, Verified First on September 14th, onboarding on September 19th. All right, do we have questions, Carol?
We do. First question, will the slideshow be sent out after the call?
Yes, it will. With all those links, I made sure because those resources are really great to access just for confirmation and review. So yes, you will be getting the slideshow or the PowerPoint afterwards.
Okay, fantastic. Next question, do job postings on ApplicantStack automatically feed over to state job boards? If not, how can we post open positions to the state job boards? Example given is Employ Florida.
Okay, so let me do this. I'm trying to get out of this presentation to my demo account. There we go. All right, hang tight. All right, Carol, can you see my demo account?
I can.
All right. So we do not have integrations developed specifically with Employment Security Commission, Department of Labor, et cetera, with every state. But what we do have is a means for you to post your jobs with those states. So I'm going to move from my ApplicantStack homepage and I'm going to move over to the Jobs tab. And I'm just going to click on this job, Accounting Manager. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger. And I'm going to move from my Summary tab across to the Launch tab. And it's here that we were discussing launching your jobs to not only Indeed's organic free feed, but also sponsoring your jobs. But what I really want to show you is what we call manual posting links. And these are automatically created by ApplicantStack for every job you have. And what you can do is you can copy these links. This one would take you to the job listing itself. This link, for example, right to your application process. So you can copy and paste those links and put them in any job description. And assuming that that site, the Department of Labor site or an association site, a technical school, a community college, will accept live links. When your candidates access those sites, review your job description, they can click on the link and come right into ApplicantStack. So you do need to go ahead and manually post that job on those sites, those niche sites. But again, you can make it very easy for your candidates to apply, and they can do so by clicking on a manual posting link.
Thank you, Ellen. To add to that, maybe job target, do you think?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Well,
So what Carol also mentioned, third-party job boards. Underneath this banner, you can launch your ApplicantStack jobs free of charge to Google for Jobs, Indeed's organic free posting, and LinkedIn limited postings. And again, there's that caveat for Indeed that Indeed will make staffing and recruiting companies pay to post. But you'll also notice Job Target here as an option. Job Target is a job board aggregator. So you can launch your jobs to thousands of job boards via Job Target. And there's a great article in our Help Center that discusses Job Target, and you can access our Help Center by clicking on the white question mark in the upper right-hand corner. But what happens when you access Job Target site is you will input your job title, you'll input the geographic area. Job Target will make suggestions as to where you may want to post your job. There are free sites, there are paid sites. You can also search sites to see whether or not they do have a partnership already established with, again, Florida's Department of Labor or any other niche site. So that is absolutely a possibility as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ellen. A couple more questions from Kyle. Asking about ApplicantStack as an applicant tracking system. Can you link to Indeed using their pay by application sponsorship?
Pay by application. So if you're referring, Kyle, to Indeed's new pay model, we have gotten information from our Indeed rep on that, and we're evaluating that information now. So stay posted, stay tuned, and we'll make you aware if that's the if that was your question, how we're going to proceed with that price model.
Okay, next question. What if the job is for jobs that pay per job, subcontractors based on work performed and bids? I'm wondering if that refers back to the salary question.
Yes, I'm thinking that it does. That's probably a good question to ask Indeed. I'm just trying to think through this. And while we're here on the launch page, you do have links to Indeed support. So you can click right from the launch page. And if you click on Indeed support form, you can ask Indeed that question. Brandon or Carol, do you know anything more?
Yeah, I would probably defer to Indeed as well on that. Since they're designating their anticipated pay range, that is something that I'd be more comfortable with Indeed answering how to handle that.
Yeah, I agree. So you can go on Indeed.com and submit your question, or you can submit your question right here from ApplicantStack's launch page.
Okay, another question. My hiring manager can't see their candidates. Why can they not see them?
All right, well, let me take a stab at that. When you create a job, and I'm going to go into the accounting manager opportunity again, I'm on the summary page. The first thing I would check is whether or not you have included that individual as a hiring manager. If you have not, you can always edit the job. This is where you would change any of these job fields, but you can also specify who the hiring manager should be for that particular job. The second thing that comes to mind is, and I'm going to go back to my homepage. These are the stages that make up my recruit flow here. This is my demo account. You need to make sure that the hiring managers have access or ownership to all of those stages. So for example, my new stage here, and I believe this is the default, hiring managers don't have ownership of that stage. And the reason why that's the default is typically the model is a HR professional or talent acquisition professional is the first individual to review resumes, and then we'll move qualified candidates to the next stage in your recruit flow. So my next stage is manager review. What you need to ensure in your configuration is that your hiring managers, if you want them to see candidates throughout all stages in the recruit flow, have ownership to all stages. And I can quickly show you how to do that. This is an administrator function only. And if I move up to the right-hand corner, upper right-hand corner of my ApplicantStack screen, click on my picture, only administrators have this setup option. And if I navigate to the blue menu on the left, what we're talking about is configuring the account. And what we're configuring is the application workflow. So again, this is advanced, but I'm going to access my application workflow. And you'll see my new stage, hiring managers do not have access to it. Yet hiring managers do have access to the manager review stage. So again, I would suggest that you look at your workflow. If you're not an administrator, get with your administrator and ensure that those stages that you want your hiring manager to have access to are in fact configured the right way in your workflow.
Okay, Ellen, the only thing I might add to that, forgive me if you mentioned it, I'm reading ahead with the questions, but filters, the filters on the candidate screen, it could be that the filters need to be adjusted as well.
So I moved over to the Candidates tab, and again, these filters you can modify for your own particular requirements. Actually, let me move back one to the Jobs tab. And I'm going to expand my filters. And then you do have the ability to specify whose jobs you want to show here. So your hiring managers could bring up the jobs, could bring up all sorts of different information based on opening and closing some of these filters. Was that what you were referring to, Carol?
Yeah, as far as candidate view, you could use the filters to filter out. Maybe you have a filter set to a certain stage and there aren't any candidates in that stage. That may be why you're not seeing candidates for that job. Just a thought. But yeah. Next question. This one might need to go to our support team, but this is an onboard question.
Okay.
Working on pulling data from ApplicantStack, I do not see the documents. On the website, there is an export or view document. However, the API does not bring those documents. Is there another API call for documents? There's a URL. There's a question about what part of that URL is coming from. Is that something I can get from the data in the forms? So I would just say an onboard, how to access forms, how to get them out of the system. You can print them, you can save them. That's what I'm thinking that question refers to.
Yeah, so if I go, I toggled to onboarding, and this is a particular hire in onboarding, and Carter has completed some of his onboarding documents. So if I move throughout his records, scroll down, and I'm at the section, the gray banner says completed forms, and I go view all forms here. This will bring up all forms that have been completed. And you then have the ability to, well, print the forms, and via that print function, you could save to a PDF if you wanted to, or you can use your browser in order to save these completed forms outside of ApplicantStack. If somebody within your organization has used our API, which allows you to pull data out of ApplicantStack, then that would be a question to your internal IT group in regard to that API and how they've used it.
Right. I guess a follow-up to that question would be what system you're trying to send information to. And that might be a follow-up question. If something's not working correctly, I would really defer to our tech support team on that.
Yeah, and Carol, the other thing I might add, if you're trying to get information out of onboarding and it's higher information and potentially you want to import it into another software package, you can always create a report. This is a very simple new hire report that I created. You can see the information that it pulls there. But you can save this report or export it, to a CSV formatted file, save it as Excel, and then you could import it into any other software package that allows importing CSV formatted data. Hopefully we answered that question.
Okay, I think we are caught up on questions. Oh, here's another one.
Okay.
Can ApplicantStack be used as an applicant tracking system?
ApplicantStack is an applicant tracking system. So let me back up there. ApplicantStack offers both applicant tracking and onboarding. And so if I go back to our recruiting platform, the two are integrated. So this is my home screen for my applicant tracking. And then again, I toggled to onboarding just a minute ago and back. But anyway, applicant tracking and onboarding are integrated. Applicant tracking, by definition, is the ability to create and launch jobs to not only your organization's website, but other third-party job boards, and then manage candidates as they come in or as they apply for your job, ultimately until an individual is hired. So in regard to ApplicantStack, you share candidate information amongst your HR team and your hiring manager team. It's all done electronically. You don't have to print out any paper, and you have the ability to view candidate information, again, ultimately until an individual is hired.
Thank you, Ellen. One more question. If it's possible to have Victoria unmuted, there's a question about the feedback section. And it might be easier to ask versus typing it out.
Okay. Let's see.
Or perhaps, Lauren, if you could, for Victoria.
I can jump in and unmute her. Okay, Victoria, you should be good to unmute on your end.
Are you there, Victoria?
You might have to do it on your side to unmute.
Muted on my. I was wondering, can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Okay. On the feedback section, we're starting to test it, and I wondered the part about the submit questionnaire. Would that be, so here we use a criteria rubric, and would the submit, could we take the questions that are in the, like, let's say the criteria screening, who should move forward for an interview? Is that essentially what that submit question for the
Uh-oh, the audio's going out. I don't know if it's our end or your end, Victoria. I'm not sure. It might be submit questionnaire that you're referring to here.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to ask. We're trying to start to utilize more of the functions, and so I wondered if that equated to what, like there are still some people that use unfortunately paper and a spreadsheet. So we're trying to implement going in there to where they could have their screening matrix, if you will, area to see who they should move forward to.
Yeah. So what you could do here is you could absolutely have individuals on your hiring team provide feedback information. So this is just, general information. Here's that 5-star rating. What you can do is create questionnaires or feedback forms specific to your organization in the library as questionnaires. And then hiring professionals could complete those questionnaires as they talk with candidates or interact with candidates.
No, I think what I mean is, so like here, what happens is after we do the initial screening to make sure they meet the minimum qualifications, we release the candidates to the search committee. And what I mean is, they review, not doing the add feedback, but like, let's say if the rubric says, do they have 5 years of budgeting? Do they have this degree or higher, or this much in XYZ? What I'm saying is the submit the questionnaire, like each search committee has different criteria that they use that comes off of their job description preferred qualifications. So what I mean is, is there a way to put it in there so they could just do it in there? Or if they do the feedback, because some people do the feedback and all they do is add the stars and put their, make their comments a note, but they don't actually tick off the boxes, let's say, of criteria. This posting might have criteria, the one you're looking at might have 5 criterias that we're asking the search committee to see if they find evidence of it. That's what I mean. Is that what the submit questionnaire could be? So each individual posting would have their own questionnaire?
Yes, that's how I'm interpreting the solution to it, Victoria.
Okay.
So you would create in the library search criteria job A, search criteria job B, etc. And
Okay.
then as your hiring managers or your teams look at candidates, they could then complete that information.
Okay.
Yep.
So like your example, because you have more samples in there. So let's just hypothetically say you're the hiring manager and I'm on this search. When you, let's say, send me an email, with what your process is for the coming weeks before we start to decide who to interview, would you flip it to the interview or the candidate feedback, or like you said, rubric 1, let's say, and then it would automatically populate when all my committee go in there? Or would I have to task to, what I mean? Would we start to have to train them to say, okay, Victoria, now you're on the search committee. When you get to accounting manager and you start to use the feedback, please make sure to use questionnaire XYZ.
I would suggest the latter. I think it's a
Okay.
training opportunity for your committees.
Okay.
Yeah, your staff members of the committees.
Mm-hmm. And then a second part on that is I'm wondering is, I know right now currently when you're putting them in the applicant flow and how you can see, like you showed just a couple of screens, hiring manager, then I can see all of these types of items. And then if I have a recruiter, that kind of thing. But I was wondering, do you think there's ever going to be a time that ApplicantStack would make a user that is just like a search committee where they have like the ability just to see it, but not to see the stuff that you still can see?
Victoria, you're going in and out, but I think your question is to block some information from search committees.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't have that feature right now, as you're aware. We've been asked about that feature, and very similar to your situation, this is Victoria Anderson, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I thought so. So you're in a college environment, and not only in college environments, but also in research environments, there's a peer review process, which is what I think you're referring to, or similar with your search committee. And when you have peers evaluate candidates, sometimes you do want to block information. We are evaluating our 2024 roadmap for ApplicantStack right now. So your timing is good. We don't have that feature. I've been asked about it before, and I can certainly submit that feature. I'm going to write it down right now. There's a little bit of a workaround, and I also want to go back to your prior question. So your prior question was, how do you educate your committee members to provide feedback using the feedback tab within a candidate record? You could assign a task to those committee members as well, to remind them or to ask them to provide feedback. So just another option there for your prior question.
Okay.
The question about blocking information, typically it's surrounding salary information. What you can do is Ask your candidates via a questionnaire what their salary information is, or what personal information that you would want to see as an account administrator. But maybe you don't want those hiring managers or search committee members to see. So if you do that, you can go to your library, you can create a questionnaire. You could ask those questions that you don't want your hiring managers to see, and you can make the questionnaire private and only accessible and viewable by account administrators and or recruiters.
Ah, okay.
Yep. So that's the workaround right now, until we ever have a feature that you'd be able to block specific information from your committee or hiring managers.
Okay, perfect. Thank you
Mhm.
very much. I appreciate that.
I'm glad to hear that you're on the call, that you're on the Ask Me Anything hour, because you always keep us fresh, Victoria. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good speaking with you again.
Yes, you too. Take care.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. I'm going to use this as a segue up to the roadmap for the next year. In onboarding, we can see all documents at one time. Will that same feature be made available on the recruiting side to open all attachments? I believe that may be another potential roadmap.
Yes. Yes.
Let's take a
So the question is referring to, I believe, I'm on the gray menu on the right down here at the bottom, add attachments. So you can, browse your drive, add files, and what happens is that they are then housed here. So you can see that the resume is an attachment, and I'm here at the gray bar.
I'm curious if you go to print a candidate, would the attachment show there? That's the only thing I can think of. But right now we do not have a view all attachments, unfortunately, like we do in onboard. That is my only thought, is would it show here?
So I clicked on print. Okay, these are questionnaires. So I don't know if we're using the term attachment and questionnaires as, synonymously. But this is probably the way that it would have to be done now, Carol. I totally agree with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And follow-up question, when we leave a feedback as a manager, will it notify the other user? So as far as other user, we're not talking about candidates. I think we're talking about internal ApplicantStack users.
Correct. I don't think, and Brandon and Carol, correct me if I'm wrong, that when a user inputs feedback, other users
if any notifications or alerts go out, they would certainly be able to see it here in the feedback.
Right.
But I don't believe any notifications are triggered.
See, I'm thinking, here's just the freeform field for adding feedback, and then again that visual. And when I submit this, I don't think I'm going to get another no that says notify people. Oh.
There may be a way, our tech support team, there may be a way to indirectly do that, where if a question is filled in, it can trigger a stage change, and then a stage change could perhaps trigger a notification. I think that may be a one-off that we may want to defer to our tech support team on.
Mm-hmm.
Possible.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, Carol. If they want that feedback, that notification, instead of just a generic note, it could be put in as a questionnaire, and that could definitely trigger a response.
Okay, so maybe we'll take that one offline.
All right.
Okay, and we have about 12 minutes left. I don't see any other questions, so maybe give everyone just a couple of seconds there's any other questions, please let us know. We're happy to help.
All right, and when we're just waiting on that, let me go ahead and promote our technical support team and our help center. And all ApplicantStack users can access both by clicking on the white question mark in the upper right-hand corner. Our help center, if you click on that, gives you the ability to search on whatever feature or function you're interested in. There are also some quick links down here so that if you're bringing on any new team members, you might want to share the Getting Started guide, Hiring Managers guide, etc. And you can see things are designated, or features and functions are designated based on recruit and onboarding here. The other thing to mention is the drop down when you click on Ask a Question. That will connect you to our stellar technical support team, and you have the ability to fill in the information here. You can actually add a file. I would suggest providing as much information as possible when you submit a technical support ticket, so you eliminate a little bit of that back and forth. So if it's a question about a specific candidate, please include the candidate's name. Again, as much detail as possible when submitting a technical support ticket is appreciated. Any other questions, Carol?
Oh, one last question. Circling back to the state job boards and your 2024 roadmap, do you think you might update the option to have the posting automatically post to those state job boards?
My knee-jerk reaction is unfortunately no. And I'll tell you why. There are 50 states, and there are 50 state job boards. And here in North Carolina, it's the Employment Security Commission. In other states, it's called the Department of Labor. But my point is, they are not identical job boards. So we would have to develop 50 integrations to 50 job boards. And because we have the manual posting links, that's our solution to posting on niche job board sites. So just to circle around on that question, we don't do integrations like that, you know, where it would be 50 times over.
Okay, and we have a thank you on that answer. So thank you, Ellen. And I think that is it.
All right. So again, as mentioned, you can see in the announcements panel, onboarding webinar on September 19th, recruit webinar on October 24th, and then we will also have that verified first webinar. You'll all be getting information on that, and the link to register for that is also in the Slack channel. Lauren included that. And if you've got any questions after this, please go ahead and submit a ticket or get in touch with your account manager. And as always, we thank you, and please tell family and friends about our Ask Me Anything hours and our webinars, and we look forward to seeing all of you very soon.
All right, thank you, Ellen. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.